The Apollonian and Dionysian are terms used by Friedrich Nietzsche in his work The Birth of Tragedy to denote two opposing tensions in art. The Apollonian, after the Greek god Apollo, represents a calm, reasoned, and structured form of art, while the Dionysian, after Dionysus, is a deeply emotional and ecstatic one. Although these two are opposites, Nietzsche believed that there was a point when they were brought together into a distinctive art form expressed through the Greek tragedies of Aeschylus and Sophocles. Before we go into more detail, let's take a quick look at Nietzsche's aesthetic philosophy in The Birth of Tragedy. 121 years have passed since Friedrich Nietzsche's passing in Weimar. There is little doubt that Nietzsche's philosophy was rebellious. He proclaimed that God is dead, and is thus spoke Zarathustra, and wrote the highly controversial Antichrist, while also seeking to expose and deconstruct the very foundations of morality. In his early years, Nietzsche was inspired by thinkers like Hegel, Kant, and Schopenhauer, whom he later came to despise. But let's cut to the chase. The Birth of Tragedy was Nietzsche's first and arguably most accessible book. It resulted from some lectures he delivered back when he taught classical philology at the University of Basel. Nietzsche decided to publish his ideas after encouraging feedback from Richard Wagner and his wife Cosima. The first few copies were released in 1871 under the title Socrates and Greek Tragedy. In 1872, it was properly published and distributed under the title The Birth of Tragedy, from the Spirit of Music. The Birth of Tragedy is a strange book. Nietzsche quotes a lot of Schopenhauer and employs Hegelian ideas to talk about art using ancient Greek tragedy, like a case study, which he ultimately connects with Richard Wagner's opera. Of course, the older Nietzsche would regret all of this. In 1886, the revised edition of The Birth of Tragedy included a section called An Attempt at Self-Criticism, written in 1771. There Nietzsche wrote, with apparent regret, that I sought laboriously to express strange and new evaluations with formulas from Schopenhauer and Kant, something which basically went quite against the spirit of Kant and Schopenhauer, as well as against their tastes. Furthermore, in his final work, Ecce Homo, Nietzsche also wrote that The Birth of Tragedy smells offensively of Hegel. Only in one or two formula is it infected with the bitter odor of corpses, which is peculiar to Schopenhauer.